Wolfgang Templin drops a tiny scrap of paper onto the street. Seconds later, a shadowing agent retrieves it. Wolfgang's crime is simply organizing a small group of people to discuss human rights, an act the East German state views as a threat to its very existence. The secret police assigns at least 10 full-time collaborators to track his every waking moment. They follow him to the bakery, steam open his mail, read his bank statements, and intercept his phone calls. A formal arrest would only turn him into a political martyr. Instead, the Stasi aims for the total destruction of his mind, without leaving a physical trace. East Germany was born in 1949 under strict Soviet supervision. To the ruling party, the country was a fragile socialist experiment surrounded by enemies. The man tasked with protecting it was Erich Mielke. After spending World War II in exile in Moscow, he absorbed Joseph Stalin's extreme political paranoia and brought that philosophy back to East Berlin. Early on, the state relied on overt terror and sham trials, but blatant oppression turned out to be terrible branding for a country seeking international credibility as a workers' paradise. So the violence went underground. To maintain absolute control without the bad PR, Mielke's secret police, the Stasi, built the most intrusive, omnipresent surveillance apparatus in human history. Inside buildings disguised as post offices, hundreds of workers in Department M spent their days steaming open tens of thousands of letters, while Department 26 automatically recorded thousands of phone conversations. Higher up the chain, elite engineers developed hyper-miniaturized surveillance hardware. We're talking cameras hidden behind coat buttons, microphones tucked inside fake sugar cubes, and bugs planted in public park trees. During secret house searches, agents routinely stole targets' underwear or fabric from their chairs. These went into an extensive library of odors, thousands of scent samples kept in glass jars, so trained dogs could track individuals by their unique body odor. If a target was too elusive to tail, agents sprayed them or their cars with highly radioactive scandium. The pursuer could then follow them from a safe distance, using a hidden Geiger counter tucked into their armpit. Every stolen letter, every recorded call, and captured scent served a highly specific purpose. This data was the raw ammunition required to dismantle a citizen's life piece by piece. Mielke codified this psychological warfare into an official policy known as Zersetzung, or decomposition. For Wolfgang Templin, the Stasi used his massive surveillance file to systematically isolate him. They pressured his employer to fire him from his job at the Academy of Sciences and actively planned to deploy trained agents to seduce his wife. Then they weaponized daily life to overwhelm him. Strangers constantly arrived at his door with fake, expensive contracts he never signed. Delivery men showed up with a cement mixer, heavy bags of parakeet food, and hundreds of live chickens, all expecting to be paid. The most insidious tactic involved secretly breaking into his home while he was out. Agents wouldn't steal anything. They would simply move the furniture a few inches or change the time on the clocks. Zersetzung was engineered to induce intense exhaustion. By making a target question their own memory and sanity, the state rendered them completely incapable of organized rebellion. Despite the harassment, Wolfgang continued his activism. One evening, he hosted a highly secretive gathering with his oldest, most trusted friends to discuss human rights in Eastern Europe. Out of the 16 people sitting in that room, 4 were secretly reporting back to the Stasi. They were spying on Wolfgang, and in some cases, reporting on each other without even realizing it. These informants were unofficial collaborators. The Stasi employed 90,000 officers, but recruited 200,000 civilian spies to infiltrate their communities. Some volunteered out of loyalty, others were blackmailed. The result? A dense network where 1 in 60 citizens was an informant. The state successfully weaponized intimacy, turning neighbors, co-workers, and spouses into an invisible front line of surveillance. Erich Mielke's empire finally collapsed in November 1989 as the Berlin Wall fell and East Germany opened its borders. When the newly freed citizens demanded access to their surveillance records, they discovered mountains of meticulously labeled paperwork. Opening those folders revealed staggering betrayals. Husbands found out their wives had transcribed their intimate pillow talk. Best friends learned they had been monitored by each other for decades. Mielke died years later, complaining that his efforts amounted to nothing. Meanwhile, his victims suffered through lingering heart problems, extreme paranoia, and a suicide rate among East Germans that spiked 50% higher than in the West. The Stasi successfully weaponized trust, leaving a deep generational trauma that explains why modern Germany fiercely guards personal privacy today.